welcome to episode 19 of the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast. My name is Ellie. I'm in Kent in the UK, which is the county just south of London, kind of between France and London really. And I live here with my husband and my two young daughters. My podcast is all about crochet, knitting, yarn, crafty stuff, all the good stuff. So welcome to all new and returning viewers. It's really good that you come and spend a little bit of time with me, and I have missed talking to you. If you have watched my podcast before, you will probably be aware that I spent the month of June doing daily vlogs, and I didn't think I would actually manage to do that successfully, but I did. I did it from day 1 to day 30 days, have September, April, June, yes, day 30. I was really pleased with that, and I really enjoyed it. It turns out that I really like vlogging, which makes sense because I am actually, I think, intrinsically, despite being constantly busy, I think I am actually quite lazy. So to do a vlog, although it requires quite a lot of input during the day because you have to take films and things and then edit them, it is quite a short process. So when you edit a vlog of 5 to 10 minutes, it's a bit different to editing a podcast of an hour or so. So anyway, rambling already. Welcome to episode 19, and I have got lots of notes. I've got tons to talk about. The kids are at school. They break up this time next week. It's their last day of term next week. My eldest daughter will be finishing primary school for good next week. And the last 2 weeks and this week and next week are just ridiculous. I don't know what it's like in other countries or in other parts of the world, but certainly it seems for our primary school, they just want to do every single activity and anything that involves costumes, baking, putting things together, remembering to take things to the school, and money, all in the last 4 weeks of term. It's insane. And I only work part-time, so I can't imagine how people who work full-time cope with it. It's ridiculous. There is a lot of pressure at this time of year. So this is about the only time I'm going to get to podcast, probably. Actually, I will probably do a podcast over the holidays. My kids really like the fact that I do a podcast. And they find it really interesting. In fact, my eldest one wants to start her own podcast. She just doesn't know what she wants to talk about. So I said to her, if she can come up with a good subject, I'll help her. But she needs to actually have something to talk about. I'll probably try and get at least some vlogging done, if not a proper podcast over holidays. Why am I rambling about this? You don't need to know this. Let's start podcast proper with finished objects. Now, I have got 1, 2, 3 and a half finished objects, but I'm going to save one of them to the end, and that will become clear later on in the podcast. So my first finished object, if you were watching my June vlogs, you will know I'm not going to put these on because I'm boiling. I'm just going to hold them up. There we go. These are my striped mittens according to Badegakk, I think. Striped mittens according to Badegakk. And these were made for a knit-along organised by Emma of the Eldenwood Craft Podcast and Ellie of the... Is it Ellie? Of the Craft House Magic Podcast. And they did a knit-along for these, which I only decided to join in about 3 days before the deadline. So you will see in the last 3 days of my June vlogs that I was racing to get these done. And I did. I knit a pair of mittens, stripy mittens, in 3 days, which I think might mean that I could probably knit an uncomplicated sock in 3 days. I don't know. I am going to put one on to show you. I don't even know if I'll get it on my hand because my hands are so sweaty. Oh, I'll put it on take my watch off. So, here you go. I knit mine with... Oh, I can't remember. I put it on my project page on Ravelry. I think I just cast on 52 stitches. The pattern called for 64, but I've got really small hands and really small wrists. Actually, I think I would have stopped and made them fingerless, but I didn't want to cheat for the cow, so I did make them full mittens. I am glad I did, but I am going to make another pair and make them fingerless, and with the no top of the thumb, so fingerless. They're stripy, and I used the weave in as you go technique, which Emma linked in her Ravelry group, and it was by I think it was by the Cosy Knitter on YouTube. I couldn't really do it as she showed it because I have real problems holding. I knit continental, and I have real problems holding the strands of yarn over my finger in the right way, and I do have this little finger thing which you can hook the yarn in. But I just found that I couldn't maintain my tension doing that. So I just kind of muddled through and made up my own version of it. And I really did enjoy it. And after about the third or fourth stripe, it really did become second nature. And it's given a really nice, you can't see where the joins are. Good. And actually this pattern I felt it didn't hold your hand. Haha, mittens. It was more, I felt it was a bit like a recipe for a mitten. So I'm just checking I'm in focus. So I think I would use this again and again, perhaps altering a bit, maybe putting a bit of pattern at the front. I feel a bit confident from having done these. I feel a bit confident that I could adapt it to what I wanted to do, but I really loved it. So that's another pair of mittens for my basket of mittens and a finished object. So I'm really pleased. Oh, and the yarn is Drops Flora in medium grey and yellow, which I really, really like. I really like this Drops Flora yarn. I bought a load of it in the sale, the Wool Warehouse sale. So yeah, I felt like I could really experiment with it because it's not sort of precious hand-dyed yarn, but it's still a good quality yarn. I feel like I can really get stuck in and experiment a bit without feeling wary about mucking it up. So that's one. I've got another finished object which I didn't mean to make, but I thought it was going to be smaller than it actually turned out to be. And I thought, I'm going to make that. That'd be really cute to pop in a parcel. And I thought it was going to be about this big, but it's not. And they look really small in the picture. Anyway, I'll show you now. He's not small, he's quite a big kitty. Look, I'll show you in comparison to my head. And both my daughters, when they saw this, let me just do a little... He's supposed to have a tail and paws, but I haven't done those because I got bored. But he's supposed to have two little paws here and a little tail here, which I will do. But when my daughters came home from school and saw this little fellow, they both said, oh, it's Prasheen, it's Prasheen, the little cat emoji character that you get on Messenger. If it was grey, and I think, what colour stripes does Prasheen have? Pink, I think. Grey kitty with pink stripes. So now they want me to make grey ones. So I'm going to need to get some grey cotton rich yarn and make little Prasheens. But he's quite cute, but he wouldn't have fit in, he's too squidgy and fat. It's called the Dumpling Kitty. It's by Sarah Sloyer, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. Yeah, my little Prasheen look-alike, or some kind of Pokemon type looking thing. Really cute. So he's sitting on my mantelpiece at the moment, just keeping an eye on us all. So that's my other finished object. And then what else do I have? Try not to get too mixed up or do any more whips when it should be faux. I've got a yarn dyeing finished object. This is not coming out true to colour. It looks a lot more, it's a lot yellow, it's a lot more of a kind of mustardy yellow in real life, but it's not too bad. I'm not even sure if that's focusing. Yeah, so this was the result of it, and I've actually made a little video which I'm going to pop in at the end of this podcast that shows you the process that I used, which is by no means a professional process and is by no means probably the right way to do it, but I've just been experimenting with dyeing for fun, and I've been filming my adventures in yarn dyeing as I go. So if you're interested, if you look at the timestamps underneath this video, I should have said that actually at the beginning. I put timestamps and all the show notes for these podcasts underneath the video. So everything you need is underneath here now. So if there's anything you're interested in, you can go and have a look, and there's more information there. I also put timestamps, so if you want to jump to any particular section of the podcast, if you're not interested in finished objects but you are interested in incoming, then you can jump to whatever section you want. So there'll be a timestamp below for the yarn dyeing video, so if you want to go and watch that, you can. I should also mention that you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Starry Eyes Ellie. I'm doing really well this podcast, aren't I? I'm forgetting everything. So that is my yarn dyeing finished object. And I also have a Thundercats hoe. I have a half finished object, and it's a sock. Now, if you've been watching my podcast before, or you've seen any of my June vlogs, you will know that this sock has been a pain in the bum. But I have completed one. And it is my speckled space sock, and this is a pattern, paid for pattern by Amanda Stevens on Ravelry. I don't want to show you too closely, but I'm going to, because even though the pattern is nice and neat, although the yarn is already starting to pill, this is a Cascade Heritage yarn. And the toe is called, it's from My Mama Knits, and it is called Heart in Flames. Just show you that again because I don't think it was in focus before. I've just done about 20 rows of 2x2 rib at the top. You can see that the pattern goes all round the leg. But on the foot section, it's only on the top of the foot. But I mean, I don't know if you can see the mess that is the heel. These haven't been blocked yet. I've just put it on the blocker to show you. There's mess there and holes and everything. I'm going to have to do a bit of sort of surgery on them when I block them and try to get them a bit better. But it is finished, and I have already started the next one. So I've already done the bit. It took me quite a while with these because I wanted to make them all in one colour, because this pattern is to showcase speckled yarn. But I really liked the pattern on them, and the pattern hasn't been a problem to make actually. It's just been the construction. For some reason, these socks have caused me problems. So I wanted to do them in one colour, but I wanted to just add a bit of interest at the toe to make them slightly girly, because these are going to be for my eldest daughter. So I added the stripe there. It's just 2 rows. But it took me a while to work out at which point to add that in order not to interfere with the first, I don't know if you can see it, with the first cable there. Because if you put the stripe a bit any higher than that, it gets distorted by the first cable, even if it's not on a row that involves a cable, if that makes sense. So it took me quite a while to do that. So I figured that out. And I figured out at which point to change the yarn, and so that it wouldn't show any join or jog or anything like that. So I've done that. And now I think I'm quite happy to knit away on the foot, and I know where to start increasing for the gusset and all of that, and I know now what to do. So hopefully the second sock won't be as problematic. But oh my goodness, I think these were the hardest socks I've ever done. And I don't know if it's nothing to do with the pattern. I think it's just me making a meal of it. Also, this is a heel flap and gusset. It's toe up and it's heel flap and gusset. And I'm wondering if I would have made my life easier had I done this as an afterthought heel. I've done one afterthought heel before. And I can't remember if when you do an afterthought heel, you have to do gusset increases or not. I can't remember. Can someone enlighten me? Because when I knit socks, as much as I like the look of a heel flap and gusset, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy having to work out where to start increasing. I don't enjoy having to make the short row heel. I don't enjoy the bit where you have to do the heel flap. And I would enjoy something like this a lot more if I just had to knit a tube and then stick in a heel where I fancied later on. I would really appreciate your advice and opinions on that. Do you just knit a tube and then stick a heel in where you like? Or do you need to take into consideration a increase for the gusset? If you don't have to do a gusset, does it fit quite well? Do you still do a heel flap? I don't know, I'm going to have to do some investigating for afterthought heels, because maybe that will increase my enjoyment of sock knitting, because I do love sock knitting. But yeah, they tend to get left to one side when I get to the bits like the increases, because I start to think, well, I've got to sit and think about that. I want my knitting and my crochet projects to be stress-free. So any advice would be appreciated. You all right there, Cat? It's just sitting here watching me. It matches my t-shirt. Is that my little buddy? So that's my half-finished object, which will bring us quite nicely onto officially works in progress. I've got quite a lot of works in progress, but the ones I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you 3. So, oh no, my bag's broken. So the first one I'm going to show you, look, the ribbon. It's all right, it's not a disaster, but the ribbon's come undone. I just need to tie it. This is my bag that I won. Ooh, ah! This is my bag that I'm destroying. Sorry if I'm looking at the wrong place. Camera's the wrong way around. This is my bag that I won from a giveaway on the Knitting Expat podcast, and it was made by one of her friends. Inside are the socks that I am getting ahead and making for my mother-in-law for Christmas. And this is made using Drops Fable print I've left my sock notebook in the other room, but I think it's Summer Berries or Berry Dream. It's called Berry Dream. It's a Drops Fable print yarn, and I knit these concurrently, 2 at a time, on short circular needles, which means it's perfect travel knitting. So I've got them to match pretty good, and they're in the Berry Dreams colourway, and like I say, I knit them concurrently on short circular needles, which makes them perfect car knitting and travel knitting. They are almost, this one is just about at the stage where I need to increase for the gusset, and I measured my mother-in-law's feet when she was down a few weeks ago, and so I know at what point to do that. Also, her feet are just a tiny bit bigger than mine. I've got 2 little, not progress keepers, stitch markers on here, and they're both from Little French Meadow. I've got a little wand on this one. And this one came with, I think, last month's mini skiing club parcel, and it was wedding themed, so this is a little ring. Focus issues. Right. So yeah, those are fun to make. That's what I like really when I'm making socks, round and round and round, nice and simple, and just knitting that you can get out even if you're out, for something to eat or a drink, or you're out with the kids, or you're in the car, or you're waiting for something. That is ideal. And actually I need more of these cast on and ready to go. And I think learning a bit more about the afterthought heel might help as well. So that is my first work in progress. And then I've got 2 more works in progress that I want to show you. First one is, and I haven't picked this up, I've got a little bag of lavender in there. And it smells really nice. I ordered those just in packs of about 10 or 20 from eBay, and then I put them in with my projects and in with my yarn, and keeps it smelling nice and it keeps the moths away. So this is my Higa shawl, and I'm making this is a pattern, it's really crumpled because I haven't had it out in a while. And also obviously it hasn't been blocked, but I am past the halfway point. I don't know if you can see, but it's knit on the bias, so it goes from here all the way down, and it goes to this central point just before where my beautiful stitch marker is. And this is a stitch marker from Lorraine of Lorraine Pugh Designs. Isn't it pretty? Actually, daffodils are my favourite flower. I'm not sure she knew that when she sent it to me. Maybe she did. So yeah, that's really nice to have on there. So I'm past the halfway point. So I've just got to, it's all decreasing from here. And this is going to be part of a cowl that Lily, the designer of this shawl, who hosts the Nordic Stitches podcast, it's a cowl that she's running, and it runs until the end of July. Now, I had originally thought it ran till the end of June. So when I discovered that it wasn't the end of June, I put it down and thought, oh, I've got ages. And now I've just realised actually it's the 13th. So I've got about 2 weeks to finish it. So I should probably get going on that rather than leaving it to the last minute, which seems to be what I like to do when I'm involved in a cowl. Sorry, I haven't said much about that. Let's get this back out again. Bad podcast, though. I do just get them out and then shove them back in. It's living in my bag that I made. It's got parrots on it, and it's a perfect size bag for a shawl. Lots of room, not very well made. The yarn that I'm using for this shawl is Drops Flora medium grey that I spoke about earlier when I was talking about the striped mittens. The orange is yarn that I dyed myself. It was the first yarn that I ever dyed myself using a kit that my mother-in-law got me for Christmas. And I really like it. And then also what I really love about this shawl is this textured section here. Not only is it beautiful to look at, but it's really fun to knit, and it feels it's so tactile and lovely. I think when I'm wearing this, when it's finished, I'm just going to be constantly like a mad person stroking my own scarf. Yeah, I really like it. And if I pull my finger out over the next week, I reckon I can get this done. I don't consider myself to be a particularly fast knitter, but I have nothing to compare it to. I don't know. I watch a lot of podcasts where people certainly seem to be a lot more productive. Although I do knit continental, and that is supposed to be a faster way of knitting, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, end of July that's due to be finished. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to having that done so I can wear it in the autumn. I've just knocked my mirror. Hold on 1 second. There, now I can just about see myself if I do that. This is such a palaver. I really hope that it's coming out in focus and the light's okay. And I'm sorry if it's not. Right, my next work in progress is something that I cast on. After I finished my June vlogs, I realised that I'd spent a large portion of June working on knitting projects. And I really fancied a nice crochet project. Then Sandra, who is Cherry Heart on Ravelry and Instagram. Oh no, hang on. I don't think she's Cherry Heart on Instagram. She's Cherry Heart on Ravelry and YouTube. You will have heard of her, I'm sure. She released a new pattern, and it's called the Moonlit Shawl. I've only got this printed out in black and white, so you won't get a very good idea. But this is the Moonlit Shawl. The sample she made is actually in a blue colour, and it's like a crescent shaped shawl with a lace border. And she actually did a pattern for 2 different weights. She did a pattern for DK weight, and she did a pattern for 4-ply. She also did 2 different patterns, one written in US terms and one written in UK terms, which was perfect. So I printed out the US term 4-ply pattern because I learnt to crochet in US terms. And although I can convert it, it's nice just to have it written there. And I am using a 4-ply yarn, which I will show you before I show you the shawl. This is the ball. All balled up, not much left. There's only about 30 grams left at the moment, I think, if that. And this is called Hot Pink Hot Pants. It's by Betsy Makes, and it is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And yeah, the colour is Hot Pink Hot Pants. And it was one of the yarns that my sister bought me for my 40th birthday earlier this year. So I've been cracking on with this. So let me just check that I've got the right side. No, of course I haven't. Right. So obviously not been blocked or anything like that. But this is my Hot Pink Hot Pants moonlit shawl. It's a crescent shape, which you can't really see because I can't get it all on. And it got a lace border that I'm currently working on and hasn't been blocked. So again, that's very difficult to see. But the crescent shawl is made, the crescent part is made using US double crochets, which I think is treble crochets in UK terms, and decreasing and increasing at certain intervals, which is, you know, that is a simple thing to do. And I keep mucking it up at every opportunity. I've had to rip back at least 6 times on different sections when I've realised I've got my increases mixed up, even with having the right and the wrong side marked with stitch markers and ticking things off as I go. It's a really easy project, but probably not the best project to have chosen to do in the last 4 weeks before the summer holidays, when I also have to make costumes and remember to send something into school every day and remember what hours I have to book off to go to which concert on what day, and then keep up with the fact that the school keeps changing it. Not that I feel strongly about that in any way. So yes, I think as a project to do when I was already going through quite a stressful time, it probably wasn't the best thing, because at the end of the day when I had to concentrate, I was like, ah! But I've got through, and I've managed to get through the main crescent bit, and now I'm on the lace section, and this is so nearly finished. I was hoping I might even finish it last night, but I was so tired last night. So I did the first 4 rows of the lace, I think first 3 or 4 rows of the lace, and I've only got about 3 rows to go, but they are quite long rows. So hopefully that will be finished in the next couple of days. Be nice to have that off the needles and ready. I can already see my eldest daughter looking at me this morning. What's that you're making? I was like, it's a scarf for mummy. Pink's her favourite colour. So there you go. God, the camera's going to go nuts for that. Yellow and pink. Neon yellow, neon pink. So we're going to look something like that, but obviously it will have all the lace and stuff. And this yarn is really nice. It's sock yarn, but it's really, really, really soft. And it's kind of drapey. It's kind of cottony. It's not, obviously, but yeah, really enjoying that yarn, really enjoying that colour, really enjoying the project. And it is all living in my latest handmade bag by me, which is a drawstring one. And I made this with just fabric that I had hanging around, which I've just never used. This fabric I bought in Hobbycraft years and years and years ago, and get it to focus, and never used. So I've made a few bags with it now, and then now I've got this kind of linen-y thing, and I just lined it all with the same linen as well. So, and I really like how that looks when you open it, and then it's just a simple drawstring. And this is just a design that I made up. I put a little tag on it, and I've got a little badge on it, which a friend of mine gave me. Yeah. So, yeah, all living in there, and that's my other work in progress. So I've got a few other things on the go, but not going to go into those because they're pretty much long-term projects or things that I keep going on about, but haven't made any progress on. So we'll just pretend they don't exist. So, on to Crafty Plans. I have got so many plans. There are too many things I want to make and too many things I want to do. So, I'll just try and organise my thoughts here with you and tell you what I'm planning to do. First of all, you heard me mention earlier festival. That is happening again this year in November, and I'm going to go again. I went last year with my mum, and me and my mum are going to go again this year. And this time my sister can come. My sister lives in Birmingham, which is quite a bit further north. But it will take her maybe about an hour and a half to get from Birmingham to Hertfordshire, and it takes us about an hour, so it works out quite well. And when you buy the tickets for festival this year, you get a code to download a free pattern for a festival bag. And there were two choices. There's a crochet choice and a knitted choice. Too many choices. Again, I've only printed these out in black and white. But if you want to see any further information, it is all on Ravelry. And you can see the much better colour pictures. This is the knitted bag. You can see it's got a nice long strap on it. And a big button. I hope that's focusing. And this is the Starflower bag, which has been designed by Sam of Betsy Makes. And this is the crochet one. So I really like both of them. I'm quite into bags at the moment, which I shall talk about shortly. So I'm quite tempted to make both of them. I'm quite tempted to make this one and attempt to felt it, because I've never done any felting before. But I don't know if that's something that you should do with that kind of bag, or I know nothing. So yeah, so I've got these two patterns. I definitely want to make these over the next couple of months so I can take one or both of them to festival. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to making those. And then I've got a couple of other things that I really want to make. Next is also by Sam of Betsy Makes, and this is her snow dipped mittens pattern. Sorry, it's black and white. The colours are actually a kind of cream, gold and silver. And she gave me this pattern around my birthday. Thank you, Sam. So I really want these to be my next mittens, not least because they've got pom-poms on them. How can you not make them if they've got pom-poms on them? And I've got some Cedar Snuggly that I've got. It's acrylic yarn that I want to use up, but it's also the ideal colours for these. And I've got enough that I could make some for both of my girls. So I really want to get those for my next basket of mittens. So that's something else. I also want to make the Go So hat. I know I've talked about it before. It's a pattern by Barbara of Knitting I Love. I've been talking about making it for ages, and I really do want to do this. I think I might make it for my husband because he's been going on at me to make him a hat ready for the cooler weather. So if I can find the right colour yarn, I'm going to make that. There are just so many things. And oh yes, my big project that I need to cast on is this one, and this is in colour. This is the So Faded jumper by Andrea Mowry, and this is my chosen first ever knitted garment because it's quite plain and simple, and you can play about with colour a bit, which means I can mix some precious hand dyed with some, oops, sorry, kicking the table, with some more commercial yarn and not feel so pressured about it. And the yarn that I've got in mind, I've left upstairs. So by the magic of editing, I will now have it. Ta-da! It's all in this Ziploc bag all together and ready. So the mix I am using is, I'm going to use two colours. One is this Drops Flora, and it is colour 5, which is dark grey. And sorry if I'm out of breath. I just ran all the way up and down the stairs. Clearly very unfit. And then the hand dyed yarn that I'm using with this is by Third Vault Yarns. That's her little tag. It is her Mazakeen colourway, and it is 100% superwash merino. And it is inspired by the character Mazakeen in the Amazon Prime series of Lucifer. And it is this gorgeous kind of bronzy, purpley, mauvey. I think there's even a bit of sort of greeny grey in there. So my idea is to make it with these two, but I can't decide if I'm going to have the bulk of the Mazakeen colour at the top, fading down into grey, or if I'm going to have the grey at the top fading down into the Mazikeen. If I can make the neckline fairly wide, I will. I've never made a jumper before, so I don't know how I would make any adjustments like that, but once I've read through the pattern and done a bit of research, hopefully, but it's not a deal breaker. If I can't do it, I can't do it. I don't know if you can quite see, but you can see the lovely Andrea there. So imagine that you've got the top half and bottom half. So do I start with grey, fade up to Mazikeen, or do I start with Mazikeen, fade up to grey? Can't decide. Any thoughts would be very welcome. Leave a comment below. Right, what else? Snow dip mittens, faded jumper, festival bags, go slow hat. Oh, watermelon socks. When we went to Unravel earlier this year, me and my mum, I managed to bag myself a cake of hand dyed by Kate's watermelon self-striping yarn. Here are the details. It is 75%, 25% merino nylon sock, and it's a self-striping yarn which dyes up to look like a stripy watermelon, basically. Yeah, so this is going to be a lovely summery project, and because it's self-striping, it will just be vanilla knitting. I need to order some more needles because I can't free any up at the moment. I don't have many needles, so I think it's okay. I might order some today. I'm tempted to order some size 2mm actually, because even with 2.25mm needles, I still only have to cast on 56 stitches. So I think I might be quite a loose knitter. So I'm going to try some 2mm needles. So maybe these will be the socks I try those on. And this is living ready for working on over summer in my beautiful lobster screen printed bag that I love lobsters, by the way, that my mother-in-law bought me for my 40th birthday, and it's screen printed here in the UK, and I always forget the name. Thornback and Peel. There you go. And it is kind of lined with an almost kind of nylon-y waterproofy fabric, so you could use it as a wash bag, but it's a project bag for me. So that's another one of my crafty plans. I'm just going to refer to my notes, of which I have many. Oh yes, I'm going to finish my fox head, which I don't have here because I've talked about it before and I've shown it before. My sister has asked me to make her this fox head, which will go on her wall, and I haven't been working on it. So I need to do that. And I also need to finish my socks for my mother-in-law, my Higa shawl by the end of this month, and, well, I'm not talking to the travelling cable mitts because they've upset me. Yeah, so there's just not enough time really to do everything, is there? I just want to make everything and do everything, but I don't have the time. So, but those are my immediate plans for the next few weeks or months. So shall we move on to incoming goodies? So I was lucky enough, let me just move all of this stuff that I've been accumulating as I've been talking to you. Can't find anything now. Just throw that all over there in the basket. Right, okay, so I was lucky enough this month, and you will have seen this already if you were watching my June vlogs, to be sent some gorgeous yarn by Katie, who is Knit and Stitch Bits on Instagram. I think she's got an Etsy shop as well, although I'm not sure if she's selling in there at the moment. So she sent me this beautiful card. Katie's in Tasmania, in Australia, and she just had been watching my vlogs and said, I've got something in my stash you might like. And she sent me 300 gram skeins of, let me get the thingy, it's called Bunham Yarns. There you go. It's Australian artisan yarns, and it is a 4-ply sock, and it's 100% Australian merino superwash. So there's 350 metres in each 100 gram skein. It's quite a plump 4-ply, very squidgy and plump. There you go. And obviously yellow is my absolute favourite colour. Again, it is blending in with everything else yellow around me. And this could, I was thinking the other day that this is practically a sweater's quantity or a cardigan quantity. And if it isn't, then it's not far off. So I could have a yellow cardigan or a stripy yellow jumper. Yes, I could. So I might use it towards that. Although I am going to probably reluctantly put one of these lovely squidgy soft skeins in my favourite colour to one side to use for future giveaways. That absolutely made my week when it arrived. It was so generous. Thank you, Katie. I cannot thank you enough. And I cannot wait to use this because it is my favourite colour. So I was very lucky to receive that. And also there's a couple of things I bought. It was Mini Skein Club Time from Little French Meadow. Now this did come with some mint cream sweets, but well, you can imagine that they met their fate. Yum, yum, yum. And this month, the July one was called A Little Bit of Cream. Here's the packet. And it's coffee cream and was it raspberry cream. So here is the raspberry cream. And here is the coffee cream. Really, really beautiful this month. I mean, they're beautiful every month, but these are just so summery and lovely. And then with it, you always get a little, like I say, sweets, but they've magically disappeared. And a stitch marker. It's a little heart strawberry and it's so cute. So now these can now go and live with the rest of the mini skeins in my mini skein box, and my stitch marker can go and live with my stitch markers ready to be used. So that was another thing. I really love the Mini Skein Club because it's that little bit of excitement through your letterbox every month. I really enjoy getting those. And then I saved this. Oh, do I have any scissors? So last time, or a couple of episodes ago, if not last episode, I was talking about I'd ordered some yarn from eBay to dye. And when it arrived flat packed, but I'd already opened it. So when I ordered some more this time, I saved it. So this is more trekking yarn, which I just ordered from eBay. It's only a few quid. And it's ideal for just my adventures in dyeing whilst I'm just having fun mucking about. And it arrives like that, completely flat. And then you cut it open. I always have these in my project bags. And this was a tip I saw from Mina of Knitting Expat ages and ages ago. They're baby nail scissors, which means they're blunt at the end and they don't catch on your knitting. So they're really handy to shove in your knitting bag because you can't catch yourself or your knitting on them. So I've got a few pairs of these left over from when my girls were babies, and now they're in my project bags. And they work perfectly, but they're nice and blunt. Whoops, throw that on the floor. So you open it up, and you pull it out, and you give it a flump, and it's just back to normal yarn. From being flat as a pancake. That's just trekking yarn, and it is a German yarn, and it is 75% new wool, whatever that is, and 25% nylon, and it's made in Germany. And this it's very rough and very sturdy, and it seemed to respond quite well to me not being too gentle with it when I was practicing with the sage. So yeah, it's quite good just because I'm mucking about with dyeing and just having a bit of fun. Moving on to, I haven't done this in a couple of weeks, but I'm going to do Sharing the Love. So Sharing the Love is the section where I talk about one or more podcasters or Instagrammers, bloggers, Ravelryers, sellers or makers of any kind that I would recommend that you go and check out. So this episode, I'm going to talk about a podcaster. This episode, Sharing the Love, is a podcaster. She's from Finland. Her name is Hannah, and she has the Hannah from Sheep's Alley podcast. Now, I've been watching Hannah since the beginning, actually, and I've always really enjoyed her podcast. And what I really, really like about them is that they are monthly. If you can hear screaming, it's because all the kids are coming out of the nursery opposite, and I've got all the windows open and I haven't shut the kitchen door. So sorry if you can hear that. So what I love about Hannah's podcasts is that they are monthly. So that has a really nice rhythm to them. She does a podcast at the end of each month, and that gives her making and her podcasting a really nice kind of seasonal rhythm to them. She also shares a lot of information about Finland and where she is. And she almost always podcasts outside, no matter what the weather, no matter how cold, and even if there's snow on the ground. She does a bit of everything. She knits, she crochets, she sews, she does mosaic, she does jewellery making, she does ceramics, painting. I learnt a new word yesterday from Emma of the Eldenwood Craft Podcast, and it is multi-craft jewel. So Hannah is most definitely multi-craft jewel, and really inspiring to watch. She is very prolific in what she makes, so she's always got plenty of finished objects to share, which I really like, although it does make me feel a bit jealous because I'm not that quick. She inspired me to try something. So quite often she talks about crochet bags that she makes. In particular, in her earlier episode, she had mentioned quite a few times crochet bags that she makes with unloved or leftover 4-ply yarn, which she then holds together like 6 to 8 strands all together to make a thick, sort of chunkier yarn, and gets a crochet hook, and then she just makes a little crochet basket type bag. And I have quite a lot of acrylic yarn from when I started to crochet many years ago now, and I was just buying yarn, any old yarn, just to give it a go, and I've got a lot of that left, which I don't really love. And I've also got some yarn like this one. This is a Cedar Snuggly in in baby beige, and I bought it for a blanket I was making for a friend, and when it arrived I just hated it, and I thought, well, that's a perfect thing. It's unloved yarn. I'm going to make a Hannah bag, as I will call it. A Hannah bag. So I went back and watched some of her old episodes just to see if she spoke in any way about the way she did it, and she did touch on it briefly about how she did it, and I used that on my own knowledge of crochet. And I had some Stylecraft Aran Ombre yarn, so I took a strand of that and a strand of baby beige, and I made myself a Hannah bag. I'm calling it the Hannah bag because it's totally and utterly inspired by Hannah. And Hannah also likes to put tassels and things on things, so I also made a little tassel to go on it. So I just held the DK weight yarn and the Aran yarn double and worked a circle, and then when it was wide enough at the base, I just started working upwards. And then when I got to do the handles, I just worked out the right point to do the handles. I chained about 25, and then I worked a few more rounds just going over the handles. So the handles are 3 rounds thick. And what Hannah often does is she will then do a plique on the front, which I might do, but I'm rubbish at doing a plique. I wouldn't know where to start. So I might do it. That might be another experiment for another time. And then I had a little bit of the yarn left, so I just did this earlier, I made a teeny tiny little mini one, and I put a little drawstring in it, so I've got a little mini drawstring pouch for notions or bits and bobs or yarn cuttings, which matches my Hannah bag. And I found these, which came with some of the yarn my sister got me for my birthday from Black Elephant. They sent some free little bits with the yarn that she ordered, and it's buttons. So let me just show you. And this little butterfly, and then there's this little sugar skull, and then there's this little tag that says get it the right way up, handmade. And there's a couple of little wooden buttons as well. So I was thinking maybe I might sew those on as a little bit of decoration, and that way I've got a memory then of the things my sister bought me for my birthday. And I know it's silly because I know it's not showing the greatest amount of skill or complicated stitches or anything, but I had forgotten how much I enjoyed doing freeform crochet. And it's funny because I did Lorraine Pugh's What Kind of Crafter Are You quiz on her website. If you haven't done it, go and do it. It's just a bit of fun, but it tells you what kind of crafter you are. And I can't remember what score I got, but it did say you would enjoy freeform crochet, and I thought I do enjoy freeform crochet, and I love this. I love the fact that I just crocheted until I was happy with the size and everything. So that really brought back a love of that to me, and it reminded me that years and years ago I wrote a pattern that's on Ravelry for a little mini crochet basket using really thick yarn. I wouldn't recommend you go and use it because it's an utterly rubbish pattern, because I'm not a pattern writer, but it is there. And I obviously had this love of it before. Anyway, I digress. So this is my Hannah from Sheep's Alley inspired bag, which is why I've saved it to the end to do it in the sharing the love section, because I would really recommend you go and watch Hannah's podcast. She's a very, very happy person and enjoyable to watch and enthusiastic, and she's extremely creative, and you can't help but being inspired by her. In fact, I've been so inspired and I enjoyed this so much that I've already started another one. I'm probably going to do a very similar shape to this, but I might just narrow the top or change the handles, or I'm just going to have fun with it because I'm just really enjoying it. It can hurt the hands a bit. I'm doing it all single crochet, which is double crochet in UK terms. So working into it when it's quite thick and quite tight can be a bit hard on the hands, but I just do a little bit, while the kids are eating dinner and stuff like that, and I'm loving it. So thank you, Hannah, for the inspiration. Okay, have I got anything else to talk about before I go and edit this and get ready for all the children coming home from school? Oh, one more thing. This should have been one of the things I've been planning to do. So when I sorted out my yarn cupboard, I sorted out all of my languishing whips. And one of my languishing whips is a pretty long-term one. When I first started crocheting, whenever I had scraps of yarn left over, I would make little 2 round granny squares. Little 2 round simple granny squares, just with a 4mm hook. And then I would surround them with white, and I did a little kind of pattern around the outside by crocheting the middle one here down to the row before, just to create that kind of sort of pointy bit. And yeah, so I now have loads and loads of these, probably coming up for about 70 odd of these, all in different colours from where I had different types of yarn left over. And the idea is I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to make 2 kind of single bed size blankets, one for each of my daughters. And this has been an idea that has been in my head and in the making for at least 4 years. That's pretty long term. So what I did was I gathered up all of my 2 round granny squares and I put them in a Ziploc bag, and I called that bag imaginatively 2 round granny squares, and they're all in here. And then I've got more yarn in here to make into 2 round granny squares, and I have, this is the only white acrylic that I've got, so I need to get more, and I've put it all into one of my old Cath Kidston oilcloth bags, so that I can have that nearby in the living room, etc. And I am going to attempt to finish these blankets so that the girls can use them, because they love their crochet blankets. So I'm going to keep that to hand. So that's going to be another thing that I'm going to have on the go and hopefully get that finished. I'm kind of feeling a bit determined to get stuff done and get stuff finished and get those languishing whips off of hooks and needles. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope, as usual, it wasn't too rambly. I've now got a huge mess around me to tidy up. I might film it for you in a minute and pop it in. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you've got any comments about Afterthought Heels or anything else, please do leave me a comment below or send me a message on Ravelry or Instagram. And don't forget to come and say hello on either of those places. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm really happy that you do. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, happy crocheting, happy knitting, happy crafting. Bye. This is my crazy setup. I had my tripod there, and this box of yarn is holding up that mirror, and my face painting kit is stopping it falling off the edge of the table. That's all the stuff that I've talked about. That's my basket of stuff that I was bunging everything in. And that's my Cath Kidston bag. And that's my sewing machine. That's where my sewing machine lives. And I'm standing on a chair in my kitchen because that's normal. Don't forget to hang around and check out the hand dyeing video at the end. Bye.